Good morning, my dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to The Last Ego on Earth. My name is James Scott Shoemaker, and today I thought that I would go over how the Course came to me. Um, I know a lot of you are at different points in the Course, and I had never heard of the Course in Miracles 10 years ago, or at least I didn't know that I had. Um, what had happened over the years prior to me finding the Course, I was very embedded into the ego's game. I was always trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. I felt guilty for a lot of things that I had done in the past, kind of had accumulated that in my mind. I was a freelance artist, so I worked from home, and I would spend a lot of late nights working really, really hard to to pay bills and do things like that. But I was always searching outside of myself, um, trying to make that happen. How can I make this happen? How can I make that happen? What can I do? And then the guilt for not being able to do those things. Sometimes it accumulated and accumulated, and just got kind of stuffed in my mind. And I was fearful of the world. I was fearful of the recession. I was fearful for uh, everybody in my life's safety. There were all kinds of things that had been just stuffed in my mind, and that's what the ego does. It just takes those things and stuffs them and stuffs them and stuffs them. And before you know it, you feel very empty, very lonely, very very sad. On the outside, still happy-go-lucky. I mean, I'm still me, just a bunch of gunk on top of me. It's like an oil slick, or it felt very, just always very dark and very very sad feeling inside, and I was always trying to make everyone around me happy. But the thing that I needed to do, and I take full ownership on that, was to find it inside. Over the years, like I said, I think I said, but I'd been searching for God. All kinds of books had come to me. Being an artist, there is a certain feeling or creative zone that you get into, and I've been an artist all my life, and it's a peaceful state. I know now that that's like communion with God. But that state, when you're sculpting, or when I was painting or sculpting or anything else artistic, was just my time with God. I didn't know it at the time. I mean, I kind of knew that, but time stopped, and it felt so good. Um, it was kind of like when I was done with that art project and that good feeling was over. Here's the ego again, and then it was like, oh my God, I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? The bills are here and all that stuff, and then I would, going into the creative zone was kind of my safe haven of just communing with God. So I started searching. Okay, I like know who God is, or I'm learning to know who God is. There's several different books, conversations with God. Read the Bible all the time, especially Jesus's words. They always hit me in my heart. But I still didn't 100% understand who Jesus was. So it just went on, and I would find different books and things like that were waking me up. And being an artist, a lot of times symbols were the things that would get my attention. And I know now that Holy Spirit was like slowly like, hey, it's time to like kind of look over here, look within inside. Let's work this out. So over the years, I was looking and soul searching. And one really amazing night, one of my best friends from high school, we had been kind of talking again after a long period, and it was such an amazing time to like kind of be reunited and us talk. And one night I was explaining that I have a feeling that I know who God is, and I'm really trying to wrap my head around what that is, but I don't know Jesus. And it was the funniest thing. I never heard him say this in all the years that I'd known him, but he's like, let me tell you about Jesus. Jesus is like your best friend. And I just was like, who is this on the other line of this phone? Like, who is this guy? And I was like, it felt surreal in the moment, because I'm like, I have never heard my best friend speak in this tone or fashion to me. But it was surreal. And I even questioned, like I said, is this even him? It felt like that. So he says, "Hey, do you have a Bible around you?" And I was like, "Yeah, somewhere. Let me go find it." And I kind of went in my room and grabbed it and came back. This was like 9 in the evening or something like that. And we started. He said, "Hey, so do you have a question you would like to ask?" And I was like, "Sure, sure." And I thought about it and I asked a question. He said, "Okay, so now flip through the Bible and it'll answer." And I was like, "Okay." So we did that, and my goodness, it did. It answered. And we did that several times, just looking through, reading the Bible, asking a question, and it would be answer. And I was just blown away. I never heard of anything like that, and I haven't since, really, not to that extent. So, it was amazing. And, I, at that time, felt like Jesus was definitely calling for me. So the time went by, and there were some other symbols, and I'll go into that another time. But I will say this: that was one of the first awakenings to Jesus for me. So one night, I was in my work area. It was probably, I don't know, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. I used to run myself rampant through all night, kind of trying to get things done and drinking pots of coffee and smoking like I used to smoke like 2 packs a day back in the day. So anyway, I was up pretty late, and I don't know what it was, but that night I felt so upset, fearful, scared. I didn't know what to do. I can't remember what exactly it was that triggered it all, but I felt overwhelmed. So with all my being, and just like you see in the movies, I got on my knees and I got on my knees in the middle of the kitchen. That's where my work area was in the kitchen. It had made it a big studio, kind of like with a window and stuff like that. And got on my knees and I said, "Jesus, if you are real, I surrender myself. I do not know what I'm doing anymore. I need help." And in that moment, tears, I just started crying, and I was just my whole being was just surrendering, and I could feel this loving presence hold me, and it was the most miraculous feeling I think I've ever felt. Just I call them God shivers, but they were all over me, and I just felt this warmth and this calm. It was beyond words. So that night, I slept like a baby. I was out like I just went boom, went right to sleep. Don't remember all the details. It's been 10 years now. So the very next morning, I get a call from one of my really good friends, and she says, "Hey, I've got something I've got to bring over to you." So I was like, "Okay, okay." I said, "Come on over." And right at the door when she came, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes later, rang the bell. I opened the door, and she was standing there with this blue book with gold letters on it. It said "A Course in Miracles," and she handed it to me. And I can't remember the whole story, but I just know when she handed it to me, I knew something was very special. I read the title, A Course in Miracles. I was like, "Wow, this is amazing. I'm going to be able to do miracles. I can walk through walls, or maybe walk on water, or fly, or heal people." I was like, this is the answer, I guess. Because I was like, what is this? And, I had just done what I had done. I kind of was just my sci-fi brain kicked in. But I know that it was a giant yes, because it said manual for teachers. And I was like, gosh, man, I've always wanted to teach. So she gave it to me. I think we exchanged a few words. She didn't say much of what it was. She just "I'm supposed to give this to you." And so it was just amazing that came that very next day. And I remember sitting down and reading the book, or at least the introduction, and it just blew my mind. It took me, it kind of undid something in my mind, and it was beautiful. So over the what was amazing. I don't know if everybody knows this, but the book "The Disappearance of the Universe," written by Gary Renard, there was a spiritual kind of Netflix called the Spiritual Cinema Circle that I was a part of, and I remember a few days before I received the course, there was a interview by Gary Renard promoting The Disappearance of the Universe. So I just thought that sounded so cool, and I don't think I really triggered what that was or what he was talking about in the interview. I didn't really, there's so much going on. I just, Spirit was like, here, buy this, buy that, buy this book, kind of waking me up, giving me the tools. So I had purchased that book several days before the course came to me. And believe it or not, that very same day in my mailbox was the disappearance of the universe. And many, many types of things like that Kismet thing that Holy Spirit does was all around me at that time. But that book was in my mailbox. Picked that up, and the two books are probably like were laying right in front of me. And I started reading a little bit of the disappearance of the universe, and here's Gary talking about the Course in Miracles, and I was just, what is going on? This is amazing, And I was like, this is real, So I read the disappearance before I read the Course, and it really just took me, it unlocked it for me. It unlocked the Course in Miracles for me, a Course in Miracles for me. So I'm not going to go too much more into that, but I will tell you, after reading the Course over the next several months, things changed very drastically for me. There's a part in the Course, and I'll need to find where it says this, but it says the Course will be easy for some, and some will be a very big, giant upheaval. Well, I was the upheaval guy. I was just ripped out from my old life and kind of thrown somewhere else. I'll get into that at another point in time. But the whole thing, and the whole time that it this upheaval happened, I had an inner knowing or an inner feeling that Holy Spirit had me, that God had me, and at all times, and He was, speaking to me the way that I could be spoken to and the way that I could understand, and it was absolutely amazing. So many people that I met, so many people that took care of me during these times. I found ways of letting go of the fear and the guilt and the upset. Now, here I am talking 10 years later, and I can look through the progression of that time period, and it was a lot of letting go to get to the place where I am now speaking to you. I had that much in me, and I mean, the Course does teach that it's lifetimes. I mean, past, future, lifetimes collapsing when you are forgiving. So, like Jesus says in the Course, it's thousands of lifetimes. So a little 10-year span is a blip compared to that. And it's like, one problem pretending to be many. And it's already over also. So it's been an amazing blessing. And I will say, I can only talk for myself, but it has worked for me. And I am just here to help my brothers and sisters. If you're in any dire need of assistance, I'm here for you. The last ego on Earth has been just such a blessing. Just in this little month here that it has started, I kind of jumped off the cliff and got rid of my fear of coming forth and being transparent. But I have spoken to people from all over the world. I mean, almost like daily. I'm speaking to people from Sweden and South Africa, England, Norway, all over the world, and it's just blowing my mind for the better, of course. They're speaking my language. We know that we're one. It's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful, and I know that this journey is all headed by Holy Spirit and Jesus, and the Great Awakening can be here for you when you make that choice to choose Holy Spirit over fear. We've got to remember that fear is not real. God, soon as that fear came in, already had created a solution, and it's already over. We're in an echo right now, and now it is a classroom for us to let go of that fear. Well, guys, I'm not going to talk too much more about that. I hope that gives you just a little bit of an idea of how the course came to me. I would love to hear how the course has come to you and how it's helped you in your life. I really do, folks. I love communicating with you about this. So I will talk to you guys very soon. Peace be with you, and I will see you on the other side. Bye-bye, guys. Talk to you soon.
Prepare yourself from the birth to the dirt. Prepare yourself for all it's worth. Prepare yourself from the birth to the dirt. Prepare yourself, the last ego on earth. Prepare yourself from the dirt to the birth. Prepare yourself from the birth to the dirt. The last ego